What's going on, guys? Wally here with a video, a lore synopsis video on the recent lore video I did regarding the Warpriest and a bit about the worm. So this one was really interesting. When I first started writing this one, I thought I was going to write mainly about the Warpriest and how to get into the room and why you had to summon him and go through all of the hive rituals to fight him and everything like that. Why does he have that Oculus ball behind him, essentially? Like, why is that there? Why is the oversoul behind him and all that information? But I decided to sort of shift away from that a little bit more and discuss why he's even there in the first place and why there's this need for him, if you will. And when I started researching it and kind of going through it, I found that really he is there to assist Oryx in removing his worm. And I kind of got a little giddy about this because I thought, like, oh, maybe this means that they could be good guys. You know, maybe he's just trying to get rid of his worm so that he doesn't have to deal with supporting the hive gods, the hive worm gods, and then the darkness itself, and he could just go back to doing his own thing. Because originally, in the story regarding Oryx and his two sisters, they were fighting for survival, not for conquest. They were trying to survive Fundament and save their people, and it sort of turned into this long, drawn-out thing over 10,000, 20,000 years, give or take, of them moving in the general direction of becoming this warrior-type conquering people that had to continually fuel their worm inside of them, because if they didn't, they would die. So, again, I think the War Priest is interesting because it shows, one, the death of Crota is a little bit more enticing, a little bit more interesting than we first thought, because originally a lot of people like to just go ahead and say, oh, well, Oryx is here because we killed his son. Like, yeah, definitely, if you had your son killed, as terrible as that would be, you'd probably want some revenge in any way, shape, or form. Most people would not just be like, oh yeah, you know, it's my son, no big deal. They would be pretty upset about that, and that's reasonable. But the bigger thing there that I think is not really talked about, and it's only mentioned a couple times, is the fact that there's this tithe system, this tribute system, where the amount of killing and, I guess, fuel in a way, which is like death and destruction, goes up to the top, and Oryx is at the top, respectively. So think of it this way: if you were part of sort of like a feudal system, you were a serf, a peasant, you were minding your own fields, making waves, driving that thing through the ground, whatever it's called, and you have your ox in front of you, whatever that thing's called, and you're just, a peasant doing things. So if you play on the Xbox, you probably already get this reference of peasantry. The PlayStation is above you, essentially. The PlayStation, they're sort of like your vassals. They are essentially your overlords. They are the kings, queens, barons, in a way, kind of. And you owe a portion of that tribute of whatever you make, because you're farming essentially on the PlayStation owner's land. The person above you's land has to go to the top. So you keep some of your food, the food that you have farmed for your family, a little bit to sell and to take to market and make sure that your community is good. But some of it, a good portion of it, has to go to the person above you. And then above everyone else is the true king, the god in a way, which would be the PC in this sentence, right? The analogy here is that the Xbox is on the bottom, the PlayStation is above them, and then PC Master Race is on top. And so essentially tribute has to flow up, and in the Hive system, it works the same way. So by killing Crota was a PlayStation. You killed off a PlayStation, and you effectively took out a good source of tribute that was flowing up to Oryx. And this is really interesting because we don't really know what Crota did prior to his engagement in our solar system, taking down Luna, coming in and basically ravaging us. And then he kind of went dark for a while. He didn't go attack Earth. After that time period, he just whooped Luna's butt, whooped our forces when we tried to retake this. This is prior to our character's story in Destiny. And then he just goes dark, right? No one knows really what happens to him. He sort of just vanishes. He's there, obviously. Eris Morn and her team try to go after him prior to us going in Dark Below to go get him, but he's not really there. So that entire sort of essence has been taken out, and Oryx wants to come back in the system. So yes, it's a love for his son, but he also has to come back in and take us out because he needs to fuel his own worm, and in the way of taking out both his son and the Traveler, and of course, all the death and conquest that would sort of happen by taking the Cabal the Vex in the system, the Fallen, the Reef, and then on top of it, humanity, the Exos, and the other Awoken that are fighting with humanity at the tower. All of that out, that would probably fill his worm up and he'd be okay to move forward. So that's sort of, those two reasons correlate in a way. So that, if that analogy makes sense, I hope it does, but that is a big reason why he's here. So what if Oryx didn't need to be in the system at all, didn't really need to fight or conquest, or didn't need really to worry about it? He's obviously going to continue fighting and killing and everything like that, but what if he didn't need to worry about feeding a worm? If the Warpriest figured out some way, however they do it with hive magic, to pull that worm out by keeping Oryx alive, Oryx could just focus on the final goal, and the final goal is the end of the Traveler. And I thought this was a little interesting because I guess I'm a little bit more hopeful about the story of the Hive, because I want that story to have a good ending, even though they are bad guys. Or maybe we're the bad guys, but it looks right now that the Hive are genuinely bad guys, and they want nothing to do except just kill us and take us out, especially the tower, and take out the Traveler. They've been fighting for 20,000 years, going for the Traveler, and it has led us here. So there's a lot of evidence that suggests, in a way, that what Oryx has done and what the Warpriest has done, they have been somewhat successful, but we kind of take them out. So the Warpriest is probably something that's new. It's probably only come around. His position has only been made, or he was created, or a knight ascended to that position after the fall of Crota. So this is a new position. It's not like the Warpriest has been working on it for an eon of time. If he did and has been working on it for a very long time, it's interesting to show that he hasn't made any progress in that general direction of removing the worm. So maybe it is like a hopeless case. Maybe Oryx is just like hoping that he can just focus all of his need and drive on finding and eliminating the Traveler. So the Warpriest and Oryx are really tied well together. I wish they explained it a little bit more, maybe built up the Warpriest story just a little bit more. I like it a lot. But again, it's one of those things that a lot of the characters, especially in the raid, sort of tie into Oryx more so than them having their own standalone stories. So when I made this video, I had a very difficult time just explaining information about the Warpriest. I read a couple comments, and again, I'm fine with criticism. Criticism's always good. But a couple of the comments were like, yeah, this didn't really have too much lore in it. And I apologize for that, because I want to be able to explain these characters in the story to you guys in the way that I do it, but at the same time, I also want to give you valuable information. And I feel like these synopsis videos are a better way at just sort of getting all of my thoughts down on paper, stuff that didn't go into the video, a little bit more concise, a little bit more analogies, and obviously in the informal tone. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope you guys check out the video. I'll have it in the beginning and in the description, in a little analogy box. But you guys are awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys all next week, next Sunday, for the next lore video, which will be on Golgoroth and probably the Light Ogres and a little bit more about Oryx. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. I'm out. Peace. Welcome back, Guardians. In light of recent events across the system, the libraries of the tower have once again become active with seekers of knowledge. The coming of Oryx has changed a great magnitude of intricacies. What we knew of the Hive and what we are to discover together will open the doors to our universe ever wider. But where